Where my family at? Where my family at this morning? Where my family? Y'all in here? Y'all coming in today? Y'all coming to class? My family coming to class today. I need my family to come to class. Let's go. I need my family to come to class today. Let's go and get into school. School is set. I know it's summertime. Y'all probably think y'all ain't got school, but school is always in. Excuse me. Almost waste tea on myself. Yo, where y'all at? Come on in. Come on in. So I could tell y'all, talk about this. I could talk about this. Give y'all this message. Okay? We're gonna get this message today, okay? If you don't drink tea, you should start, because it's really good. If you don't drink tea, you should start, because it's really, really good. It helps you out when you speak a lot. Keeps your throat nice and warm. Keep your vocals clear. Keeps your passage clear so you can sound clear and you can be clear, and also you can think clear. Anyway, so I came on today just to talk about why if you are innocent, guilty or innocent. That's just what I lead in today, where I'm leading in with that today. If you are guilty of innocent. Because see, when I be sharing a lot of downloads like this, I usually be having thoughts to myself that I've already asked questions of myself. And then I bring it to the people, because once I've asked the question to myself and I did the necessary adjustments, if I was caught in the wrong or caught in the right, if I made the adjustments, whether, then after I made the adjustments, then I come to share it, because then I can talk about the real experience from the adjustment making. You get what I'm saying? So let me break it down a little bit. Let me break it down clear for you, or a better way to understand. When you know you done something wrong or something bad, it sits on your conscience, and you got to make up for that. Or when you done something good and you really want to talk about it, you really want to boast about it, but you hold it in, you kind of say, oh, I'm going to be humble about that. You understand what I'm saying? So there's two sides to this coin. That's why I say, are you guilty or are you innocent? And I've been guilty of a lot of things, and I've been innocent of a lot of things. Meaning, when I say I've been innocent, meaning I've had the right to brag, or I've had the right to say something, make an announcement. I've had the right to share whatever it is I wanted to share, because it's been my experience, and or I've done something for someone, and not that I need to tell everybody that, but when you do something good, and it's for the better part of like a community, on a community level, then you get the right to talk about that. You get the right. But sometimes we've been found guilty, we've been found innocent, and we try to remain innocent in that kind of a bragging. Like, oh, it's nothing, you play it off real innocently, like, oh, it was nothing, it was just, da da da. But inside, you really want that to be expressed. You understand? And so therefore, you become guilty, because you're not living in that truth. You're not living your truth. And so, again, I've been found guilty of not living my truth, and I've been found innocent where I was living my truth, but I played it down. I played it off. And not I was living my truth, but I've done something that deserved the right to, be recognized or be talked about or be shared. And, people step to you and say, you need to show a little bit more humility, or you need to show, sit down, be humble, sit down, kind of stuff like that. And nothing's wrong with taking on the attitude of being humble. Nothing's wrong with taking on a personality of being a humble person. There's nothing wrong with being that kind of person. You can be humble, but when you deserved the right to talk about yourself, then by all means, you should share that. You should talk about that. You understand? Because you're playing it down too innocently, like nothing, that was nothing big, when that was just as big. Just like when you are guilty of something, you know how big that weighs on your consciousness? You know how heavy that weighs on your consciousness? So what I'm saying is you got to have the balance, and you got to create the balance. You understand? Because your conscience will tell you when you have done something wrong and you get that guilty feeling. Your conscience will make you want to do it, do the right thing. Your conscience will make you want to express the truth about what you done wrong, or what you did to someone else. And it wasn't right, I guess wrong, but still, trying to find another way of saying wrong, but wrong is wrong. You understand? So we have things about us that we've been guilty of, and we don't know how to, and see, it's not for others. Excuse me. See, that's why the tea is important. But we have others. The tea clears all that up. That's what I'm trying to say. But we done wrong to others, right? And our consciousness will guilt us, heavy. It's a heavy burden, right? It's a heavy burden. Sometimes for some of us, I don't want to speak for everybody, but for some of us, our conscience eats away at us. So when your conscience starts to eat away at you, then guess what? And you express the right, or you go and make the wrong right, then you have done the same expression of, getting it out. You understand what I'm saying? When you have done something good. But the fact of the matter is, you remain humble when you do good, and when you remain innocent when you do good. But when you are guilty, you express that, you get that out. You go to that person and you say, I'm sorry about that. But what I'm trying to say is, we unevenly balance the scales on ourselves. Because when we are guilt stricken, you understand what I'm saying? We know how to go and say, hey man, we quick to be like, I apologize and that's something wrong. But what I'm saying is, we're quick to express the guilt so we can get the guilt out. We can get rid of the guilt. We're quick to express our wrong about that and say, I'm sorry, or apologize. And the thing is, but when you do something good, you hold back. So then you unevenly balance the scale. When you do something good, you don't talk about that. You rather have other people talk about that for you. You don't see fit to express it yourself. But guess what? The same weight that guilt strickens you is the same weight that holds in when you feel like you want to express yourself and you're claiming to be humble. You understand what I'm saying? And again, don't misconfuse, or don't get confused me when I'm talking about being humble. Like when you do something on the individual level for someone nice, you give a homeless man $5. You don't need to say, hey, look what I did. I gave a homeless man $5 today. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not talking about that kind of expression and when you're doing something good. But I'm talking about on a communal level, when you done something that was monumental, not only for you in your life, but it was on a grander scale of helping many others get through whatever it is you share, or get the information you share, or get to a better place that you may have expressed to them, or when you've done something to help in a communal way where it was for the betterment of mankind, then by all means, you need to express that. You understand what I'm saying? So I ask, are you guilty or are you innocent? Are you not living in your truth? You understand? Because when you do good, you want to talk about that. And so therefore you may be guilty of not talking about not talking about what you've done good. You understand? You may be guilty of something good. You understand what I'm saying? You may be guilty holding back or holding in the expression that comes with wanting, that comes with doing something good on a human scale, on a human race scale. You may be holding back. Look what I did for I talk about the good things I've done in the community when I get the opportunity. When I get the opportunity to be introduced, whenever I go do a talk or whatever, and I get in my bio, I write my bio and give it to the moderator or the host or whoever's bringing me up, introducing me. I talk about the good I've done. I talk about the awards I've received. Not all of them. I mean, I don't want people sitting there listening to everything I did. I'm not trying to be, soaking up, all the time and, and gratifying myself. But I mentioned the good that I've done. Mostly, I mentioned in my bio is mostly work that that gets mentioned that is done on a communal level, like my Walk for Jesus walk that I did. I mentioned how I worked with the St. Petersburg Police Department in my bio, and how I did a walk, and spite of all of the Black Lives Matter protests, I did a protest to walk with the police, not against the police. You understand what I'm saying? And we had some 200 people show up at that event. You understand? It was a beautiful event. All the police came out. You understand? I've had, musical artists come out. The church got involved with me, and we did a walk, students standing for Jesus walk. And I put that in my bio. Not every detail, but I put in my bio the working with the St. Petersburg Police Department so that we can bring what? A good to who? The community. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? So what I'm saying to you is we cannot be bashful or innocently playing down our good when we do our good on a communal level. You understand what I'm saying? I've done good for a lot of people. I've done good for a lot of people on an individual scale. But if we all did that, we all be on social media or other, up on stage for forever talking about the good we did. Because I'm pretty sure, there's a saying that goes, there's some good in the worst of us and some bad in the best of us. You understand what I'm saying? There's some good in the worst of us and some bad in the best of us. You understand? So everybody can do a little good. Everybody done a little good. And I say that, when you have done something good, don't innocently play that down. Don't guilt stricken yourself with the burden of that. Like, oh, I want to talk about, no, I'm not going to share that. Writing a book, that's monumental. You understand how many people really want to write a book, but don't know how to even start to write a book? If you found yourself having wrote a book, completed a book, and found yourself getting that book published and getting that book was even bigger into people's hands to read, and even bigger than that, getting people to review your book, there's steps to that. You understand what I'm saying? There's a ladder to climb to that. And people are scared of the end result more than, my bad, people are scared of the beginning phase than they are of the end result. You understand what I'm saying? So, but you found a way to do it. So now people get to come to you, acknowledge that you did it, and say, how do you do that? And ask, can you teach them that? You understand what I'm saying? So you write a book, don't hold that kind of information in. You understand? If you wrote a book, share that kind of information, because somebody around you wants to write a book, or you never know. That's what I'm saying. You would never know if somebody around you wants to write a book, and you have to be able to express that in a not so what do they call it? Self-gratifying way. But you do it in a humble way. You don't be humble about it and don't mention it. And mention it at all, and don't even add, no, I'm humble about mine. I ain't gonna. What good is the good that you do if it? Ooh, I'm about to say something here. What good is the good that you do if you don't use it for any good? I just said something. What good is the good that you do if you don't use it for any good? If you don't speak about it, you don't share it, you don't tell about it, you don't talk to others about it. What good is the good that you did? It's no good. Then don't do good. I'm on one right now. You understand? The enlightened poet is coming out. Okay? But what good is the good that you do if you don't do any good with it? If you don't express what you did, if you don't express the good that you did, so you may be found guilty of not living your truth. You may be found guilty of not expressing that. But when you are really guilty of doing something wrong, when you are really guilty of cheating someone out of something, you are quick to express your apologies about that, because you don't want that sitting in you. Well, when you do something good, guess what? That's the same heightened emotion. That emotion is the same. That heightened emotion is the same as when you are stricken with guilt and when you are doing something good. That is the same heightened emotion that comes up in us. Those same endorphins releases within us that when we do something bad and when we do something good. Because here's what I learned through the book Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, and also Rick Pitino, who coached the Louisville Cardinals basketball team got a book called Excitement is Contagious. But your emotions don't understand. Your emotions don't understand excitement or fighting. Your emotional sense don't understand excitement or fighting. It can't differentiate that because when you're fighting or when you're excited, you still even just look at Bruce Banner. What's his name? The Incredible Hulk. Great example. He couldn't get too mad. He couldn't get too excited. You understand what I'm saying? Because either or, guess what? It's still the same emotion. That's still the same emotion for when he get excited. Turns him into the Incredible Hulk. You understand what I'm saying? So whether he gets too excited or too mad, his emotions cannot make the difference. His emotional self cannot differentiate when he's being mad or when he's being excited. It just knows that this is the heightened level that we reach when we get either or. You understand what I'm saying? And when we get either or, this is what happens. I turn into the Incredible Hulk. You understand? So he couldn't get too mad or excited. And the same thing goes with you. When you are guilt stricken with something, it's the same heightened emotional sense that comes up in you that weighs heavy on you is equally the same when you do something good. And that good weighs on you too, to where you want to talk about it. You want to get on the phone and call your friends about it. You want to call your cousin and say, look what I did today. Look what happened today. But you don't want to sound like you're bragging, or you don't want to sound like you're not humble, and you don't want to sound like you're too boastful, and you don't want to sound like you're throwing something in somebody's face, and you're too careful of making people jealous. You know, I stopped. I love what Bill Cosby once said. He said, Bill Cosby had a quote that said this. He said, the worst thing that you can ever do to yourself is try to please everyone. You understand what I'm saying? The worst thing you can try to do for yourself is try to please everyone, because you ain't going to be able to please everyone. So you might as well go ahead and live your life and live your truth. Stop living in the guilt-stricken areas of when you do something good, you feel like you got to be too humble to express that. Again, I say this, that when you do something good on a communal level, it would make no sense to brag about every time you did something good for an individual. Every time you stopped by the grocery store, you handed a homeless guy $5. It would make no sense to get on, on TV and talk about how much you gave to a homeless person every time you see one. That goes without saying the goodness within us. If there's, like I said, there's a little bit of good in the worst of us and some bad in the best of us. You understand what I'm saying? But the good that's in the worst of us, is that kind of good. The kind of good to do for others. You understand what I'm saying? That's the kind of good. Even the murderer had done something good once in his life. And I say once in his life because I don't want to speak on if he never did anything good. But we cannot exclude, and when I say his life or her life, we cannot exclude their childhood about that. I mean, they innocently didn't know when they were doing something good, sharing with their friends. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't, I'm not trying to make it too detailed, but I'm going in, when I speak of life, I'm not talking about just your adult life. I'm talking about your whole life. You understand? So when you do something good, it's good that you express the good. Why? Because then, like I said, what if you wrote a book? Or what if you messed around and you learn how to start up a business, and you got somebody behind you watching you may not know, or follow you may not know, and you mess around and you share that information. You go to social media today and you see people that do good and their good is expressed out there. Then you see the comments and you go and read the comment section, and the comment section is only expressing the good that which that person did. It's validating the good. You understand what I'm saying? If it helps people in that communal way, whether it was just information they shared, whether it was just teaching them, because even in one talk or one subject matter, you can teach, 1,000, 100,000 people something differently. You understand? You may be talking about one subject and you got an audience of 100 people. You got an audience of 1,000 people, and 1,000 people can get something different out of what you said. Did you just hear what I just said? I said 1,000 people can get something different out of what you just said. You could be speaking to 1,000 people, and 1,000 people can get something good out of what you just said. Differently though. Something differently good out of what you just said or what you shared. You understand? So you have to express the good in you when you do the good. You have to express that. And then just as well as when you express the guiltiness when you've done something wrong and you have to share with someone, or you have to confess with someone, or you have to talk about what you did just to get it off your chest. You understand? There's a story of how me, myself, and I, I've done a lot of good. I could have shared that with the world, but I get, a lot of people say, you're really humble. And I've heard people say I was humble many a times, and the things that I've done. You understand? I don't like to put a lot of what I do in people's faces, but I'll be honest with you. At times when I do something good, that's good for the community, I forget myself to express that. You understand what I'm saying? And then guess what that does? When you allow that expression to stay within you, guess what that does? I always talk about I use the analogy of a house with a fireplace but no chimney. You understand what I'm saying? It's like a house with a fireplace with no chimney. You understand? So you have a house that has a fireplace with no chimney is going to basically soot up. You understand what I'm saying? And burn up because it'll get too hot. But the chimney allows the fire to escape, the oxygen, the dioxide, the carbon dioxide in the fire to escape. It allows the carbon dioxide in the fire to escape. That's what the chimney is for. You understand? And plus, fire, in order for a fire to stay bright and burning, it needs oxygen. This is why they say in the campfire, just give it, blow on it a little bit. You've been in camp, you blew on a fire, you put some oxygen into that fire, and that fire grows. You understand what I'm saying? Well, imagine when you keep things inside you. When you keep things inside you, you're like that firehouse. You like that house with a fireplace, but no chimney. It then turns into turmoil energy that starts to eat away at you. You understand what I'm saying? And then that energy can convert, because that energy still has to be transferred into something. You understand? Energy never dies, it's only transferred. You understand what I'm saying? And so then the energy, just like a battery, can convert energy into negative or positive. When you have done something positive and you don't express that positivity that you have done, you understand, that good that you have done, then it will get converted into what else? Negative energy. And listen, I heard a preacher say the other day, she said it best. She said that, when we are living our lives in the present moment, in turmoil, she said all that is a past, is the reality of your past thinking. So right now, because you got to understand, when you speak things, you project things. You understand? You project your words. When you speak things, you are projecting into your life. And so just like Jesus, let me get off just a little bit. I'm not going to go too deep, but I got to go here for you. It was just like when Jesus spoke to the grave site of Lazarus. And you understand? Jesus spoke into the cave of Lazarus. You understand? And Lazarus, before he even called Lazarus forth, Lazarus already started to unwind, come out, wake up and come out of the cave. He said, then Lazarus, come forth. You understand? But Jesus had to do what though? He had to project his voice into that cave and wake up Lazarus. You understand what I'm saying? Speaking into existence that what he wanted to happen. And what happens is, you understand, this is all on topic. I need you to know this. Okay? So it goes back to when you are doing something good and you don't express it, and you don't express the good, then the guilt that comes with just having that good rest in you, that positive energy has to be transferred, and it gets converted into negative energy. You understand what I'm saying? It gets transferred into negative energy now. And when it gets transferred into negative energy, it's like a house without a fire. It's like a house with a fireplace and no chimney. That energy starts to destroy everything in it. You understand? And that energy will destroy you. You don't like sitting with guilt in you, something wrong in you. You have to get it out, because you know how bad what it can do to you. It'll eat away at you. Well, same thing with the good. The good will eat away at you if you don't express the good. So I say, are you guilty or are you innocent? You understand? When we are living in our present life, when we are living and we're having problems with our life, it was all because of our past thinking, what we projected out there. We project negativity out there, and so all we did was caught up to our words, and so our life is looking like what we spoke. You understand? Yesterday or the day before or a month ago. We're catching, our lives right now is us catching up to what we spoke of in the past. Because that's what it is. You understand? That's what it is. And as I expressed before, even when you got a little bit of good in you, even the worst person got a little bit of good in them. And that little bit of good you should express. You understand? When you do some good. So I brought this message to you today to ask you that question. Are you guilty or are you innocent? Are you guilty of not living your truth? Are you guilty of not living your truth? Are you guilty of not expressing yourself? And listen to me. Not only, and I know that for all my LGBTQ people out there, I know that it is Gay Pride Week. And this is in this city, they celebrate Gay Pride, and that's cool, and I have no problem with that. You understand? When it comes to expressing ourselves, we got to be definitely happy about that. You understand what I'm saying? We got to be definitely good about that. We got to be expressing that. We cannot live in that guilt. Are you living your truth? You understand what I'm saying? So a homosexual person that is afraid to come out and tell his or her parents that they like the same sex gender person is not living in that truth. They're not living their truth. You understand? Regardless of our own personal beliefs, religious wise or not, regardless of our beliefs about homosexuality or not, to that person, they're not living what makes them not only feel good, watch this, but what will compel them to do good. You understand? So when a person lives in their truth, then when you live in your truth and your truth is for the good of humanity, when you live in your truth and you get to do that freely, expressively, and happily, then it makes a better society. When everyone is happy living who they are, then that makes so my point is this: we should push and we should advocate for people living their truth. We should advocate people coming out when they need to come out. We should advocate for people living in their truth, because living in their truth is living in their, and ultimately living in their happiness. And anybody that is living in their happiness is ultimately going to do good from that happiness, because you don't share what you don't know. You understand? You don't share what you don't know. You only share what you know. And when you know happiness, you know how to share it. And you want everybody else to be happy. And so in retrospect, you do good when you're happy. In retrospect, you do good when you're happy. You understand? And this is why people need to do good. This is why you need to express the good. But you need to express not only the good that you do, but the good that's inside of you. And if living your life, loving the same sex person, and I'm not just using LGBT people here. I'm talking about anybody that's struggling, or anybody that's struggling to get out what they need to get out. You understand what I'm saying? Anybody? Let me tell you something real quick. Let me veer off, and I'm gonna come back. Let me veer off and then veer back in. It's like I'm going off I got off the ramp too early, and I need to get back on. So let me get off the ramp real quick. I'm on the interstate. Let me get off the ramp. I got off the wrong ramp real quick. Let me get off the ramp real quick and get back on. I gotta go here with this one. Okay. So you got to understand that everything, and I'm about to go off. Like I said, I'm going off the ramp. Everything has light code in it. I need y'all to understand what light codes are, because I'm gonna come back to this message. What light codes are. Everything has light codes in it. Like there's light codes in everything. And again, when you understand what codes are, then you understand that codes are information. Codes are information. And light code, everything has a light code in it. And there is, in those light codes, there is that in every piece of particle, metal, cloth, it does not matter. Put it under an ultraviolet microscope. Put it under an ultraviolet microscope and you will see light codes within it. Every little fiber, every element on this earth has light code. Plastic even has a light code in it when you put it under an ultraviolet microscope. Everything has light codes in it. This is how forensics works. This is how forensic science works. Because when they want to pin a case against somebody, they want to prove someone guilty, they do what? They take all the evidence and they do what? They must put it under a ultraviolet microscope or even an ultraviolet light. You understand? So they have to either put it under an ultraviolet light or an ultraviolet microscope so that they can see the light codes. Did you hear what I just said? So a person that kills someone, there could be blood splatter all over the wall. To the naked eye, you cannot see it. But put it under an ultraviolet microscope. The ultraviolet light reveals the light codes. It starts to show the particles all over the place. And then in that, the blood itself, there's more light codes, what we call DNA. You understand? Because again, when you think of the word codes, you're thinking of the word information. And when you think of the word DNA, think of information. When you think of the word light codes, think of a light pattern, a light communication, a light pattern. So watch this. I'm off the ramp, but I'm about to get ready to get back on the ramp. So get back on the interstate. Okay. So I'm using that analogy. So understanding that everything has a light code in it. What I'm saying is this, that you have an identity. Everything, when I say everything has light codes in it, what I'm ultimately saying is everything has an identity. Everything has an identity. Every single thing has an identity. You understand what I'm saying? There is an ID to everything because there's a light code in everything. And those light codes, as I was speaking of, forensic science use those light codes when they want to put someone, away for life. They use those light codes and they can see in the light codes the patterns, the information. They can see a pattern of information. And it tells them and reveals to them that this is the same piece of paint, or this is the same piece of metal, or this is the same piece of cloth that came from that shirt that man was wearing, or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? When they want to prove someone guilty, you understand? Forensic science uses evidence, and all the evidence that they use is either put under an ultraviolet light or an ultraviolet microscope so that the light codes can be revealed. My point is this. I'm back on the interstate now. I'm getting back on the interstate right now. So my point is this. You understand? You have an identity, and there is an identity to you. You understand what I'm saying? And in that identity, whether you are a homosexual or whether you are a person that is you got a fetish of some sort, or you got a habit of some sort, whether it be a habit that doesn't harm humanity, as I was speaking of, if it's good for the good of humanity, that's why I use that. The good of humanity. When you do something good, you ought to express that, because that good is for the good of who? Humanity. I'm not talking about habits like smoking. That's not for the good of humanity. It's not good for you. You understand? It kills the ozone. It kills the atmosphere, the oxygen in the air, and it kills you. So I mean, come on, but you get what I'm trying to say right now. Let's get back to my point. So when you do something good, you got to understand you have an identity. You have an identity. And you must reveal your identity to the world. You understand what I'm saying? So that you can live it. That's how you live in your truth, revealing your identity. You live in your truth by revealing your identity. And when you reveal your identity to the world from that place of living in your truth, then what comes of that is being happy. And when you are happy, you know how to express happiness. You know how to express joy. You become happy. You become joy. And then everybody around you gets bits and pieces of that. And this is why I say that when you are living in your truth, you are living happy. And when you're living happy, that is for the good of humanity. You understand? Because you're doing good making someone else happy. You're doing good when someone comes around you and they can pick up their smile. You're doing good when someone is around you and they can get something from you that they may have been some healing from you that they may have been hurt, in the past from. When they come to you, there is something that a person can get from you, and that is for the good of humanity. And that's why you got to express who you are, your identity. That's why you got to express who you are. You have to express your identity. You understand what I'm saying? You have to express your truth. You have to live your truth, express your truth, and and tell others. I guess that's the same. Telling others is expressing your truth or self-expression. So you're living out your truth, self-expression, or you live your truth and you give your truth. You understand? For the good of humanity. That's why I asked the question: are you guilty or are you innocent? Are you guilty? Are you guilty? What? Of not living in your truth? Or are you just innocently playing down your truth, knowing that, oh, this is who I am, and I'm okay with this, but you know you can do better, you know you can do more, you know you got more, you know you can give more, and when you do all those things, you don't express that. You see that being a problem. But it's not a problem when you do something wrong and you go right that wrong and you share that wrong with that person. It's not a problem when you express it. Then you unbalance the scales on yourself. It's like that fireplace again I speak of. You understand? You turn that positive energy then into negative energy because you don't express yourself. This is why a lot of people who struggle with coming out who they truly are usually kind of angry in the beginning. You understand? And then they say, oh, I'm free. And when they become free, they become their happiest self. You understand? So when people don't express themselves, then all the positivity can be turned into anger. This is how a son who haven't seen his father in 18, 20 years, have anger issues growing up as a child. But the moment his father comes into his life, he can become a different person. He can become a different being. He become a different person because he built now what? A connection, a relationship, and that which was missing in his life that he could not or did not know how to express. Him not having his father, he found it hard to know how to express his truth. And maybe his truth is, he may be, let me just give an example, a small example, and use this as just an analogy. This guy may be a young black guy. And I'm not saying all black fathers are missing from the home. Well, I'm just using a scenario. Okay, this may be a young black guy who never saw his father in 20 years. In 20 years, never saw his dad. You understand? And he's going astray. His life is going astray. But inside, he may be like, let me say this. He may have found him something that kind of gets rid of that anger a little bit. Maybe two things he may have found. Let's say your son may have found basketball as a great sport to get rid of his anger. And listen to me. And he may have found ballet dancing. Okay, I'm using this for an example. And he may have found ballet dancing as his expressing his truth or getting rid of his anger or feeling at his best and his happiest. But you got this young boy who don't want to express, being a ballet. So he goes and be a basketball player because that's another way he gets his anger out. But also he's doing it not for himself. He's doing it for others. He's doing it knowing that he may be a little bit more happy being a ballet dancer. But let me tell you something. He may be a little bit more happier at being a ballet dancer, but he know he would be smashed, and he would get smashed as for being a young black ballet dancer when there are many, many black ballet dancers in the world, male ballet dancers. Okay. But what I'm saying is, and ballet actually is a very beautiful, beautiful art. Ballet dancing is a very beautiful art, especially when I see black men do it. I can't remember the one black man who did it. Used to be with Nikki Giovanni all the time. The poet Nikki Giovanni, but the black guy, I forget his name, but he's a dancer, ballet dancer. But what I'm saying is, we see something like that as that's too flamboyant for a young black male to be doing. That's too flamboyant for him. He don't need to be in that. He need to be over here playing basketball. You understand? And so now he's confused with learning how to live his truth. He's confused with not knowing how to live his truth. And the person that could have validated his truth is a father. And so when the father goes missing in his home, and that's why I'm using a male when I say a male, because a male and a father can do for a young son what a mother cannot do. I'm just speaking the truth right here, okay? I love my mama. I love all the mamas out there, but a father role is important in that male child's life. You understand? Not to say that there can't be two same parent systems. You get what I'm saying? And still raise a good child. What I'm saying is, when you got this young man who wants to know his dad, wants to know who his father is, wants to know who his biological father is, you understand? what I'm saying? Whether he's adopted or not. But once was biological father, then that truth will always be missing in him. I'm speaking from experience, as a matter of fact. Not that I wanted to be a ballet dancer, but I'm speaking from the fatherly experience. Okay? But when that young man wanted to couldn't live out his truth because he needed to know who he was. There's an identity to him, but his identity cannot be fully revealed to the world because he don't know who he is or where he come from, and he seeks that validation from his dad, or he seeks that understanding. I like to say is a better word. He seeks that understanding from his dad, so he can know who he is. You understand? And have an identity, so he can fully live out his truth. But he will struggle with that if he don't know his dad. And then the moment he gets to know his dad, then there's something magical that happens when he meets his father for the first time. And then he starts to become a different person. There's something magically that happens that which was missing looked like it was never, that which was missing in him, you will never even notice it when he becomes to know who his dad is and builds a relationship with his dad. And I ain't talking about a one visit. I'm talking about a relationship. You understand? Then he begins to express himself truly, whether he speaks out more, whether he expresses himself in another form of expression like dancing more, or whether he is becoming more of a whatever, his fullest potential can be. If it's to be, academically the smartest kid in the room, then he can become that. But this child is seeking his father. I'm not talking about the child that is raised by a single mom and never kind of really seeks that his father out. He said, my dad left my mom. I don't care. I'm gone, whatever. I'm living my life. But that child that seeks his father, that seeks wanting to know the rest of his truth. You understand? I want to say a quote, but I ain't gonna remember it. A quote by Tony Dungy, who founded Father Mentors or something like that. He founded one of those mentoring programs, Father Mentor programs. Tony Dungy did, and he has a great quote that I can't remember right now about a father role. But we're not talking about fathers. But the quote goes to this father point that I'm trying to make. But I'm going back to my other point, the topic of this subject, and that is, are you living your truth? And are you guilty or innocent? Are you guilty of not living in your truth? And I'm going to say this and then I'm going to close. You have to live your truth. You have to express yourself. Whether you have different views and beliefs, it does not matter. You have to live out the full expression of yourself, because that is who. That is your light code. That is your identity. When I put you under a microscopic, when I put you under a ultraviolet microscopic microscope, when I put you under a ultraviolet microscope, I'm going to be able to penetrate the DNA. I'm going to be able to penetrate the foreskin and be able to see within you the light codes, the patterns in which I get to understand the identity of this person. And while I'm looking inside that ultraviolet microscope, I'm going to be able to look inside you and see something is not corroborating with the person that I'm looking in front, that's sitting in front of me, standing in front of me, that I'm looking at in front of me. I'm going to be able to see, whoa, hold on, buddy. Something's not corroborating here. Something is not matching up. There's something that's not aligning with who you are. There's something that is not aligning with what I'm looking at in front of me. When I put you under the microscope, I see this kind of person. But the person that's standing in front of me is not the expression of that person. And so therefore, you start to get all emotional. Why? Why do you get emotional when people start to touch raw nerves, huh? Why do you get it? Because you left them. Listen to me. You left those raw nerves. I'm about to go into my poetry mode now. You left those raw nerves unattended, and so they rotted away. You understand what I'm saying? It's like chicken that you sit out on the counter all night and you leave it unattended, and then the chicken starts to grow, a fungus around it, and then bugs starts to come around it, and it starts to foul and stink up the place. That's what you're doing to yourself inside when you leave those good expressions of who you are and what you do, your truth, unattended. You start to smell foul. You start to stink. You start to deteriorate away because you're not expressing that truth. You're allowing yourself to rot in your good. You're allowing yourself to ride in your good. And I'm speaking on this, talking to the people also that know that they have more in them that they can do as far as reaching their highest potential. I wrote a book, and I'm not here to sell a book, okay? And this is not me being humble, talking while we're on the subject. But I wrote a book, okay? And I'm going to express that. I mean, we on a topic, right? So I wrote a book called Going Beyond Beliefs. And in that book, I talk about, hold on, I don't want to misquote my own self on my own information. You understand what I'm saying? So I got to pull out the information. On this book cover, I wrote, it's called Going Beyond Beliefs. And the subtitle on this book, listen to this, diving inside the psyche of human patterns, breaking mental blocks of comfort, conformity, and complacency for change and results. Tap into your full potential of infinite power. That is a book that I wrote, and it's a workbook where you can do steps in this book, and you can find it on Amazon and on my website, theenlightenedpoet.com. Going Beyond Beliefs. It's a workbook that you should get, and it expresses what I talked about before. I'm not going to go into this subject because I think I already did this download when I talked about how Jesus gives us the PSA, power, strength, and authority. You understand? Jesus gives us our PSA, our power, strength, and authority. And you can go in that book and you will find that kind of information in there that releases our power, our strength, and our authority so that we can do what? So that we can dive inside, we can break human patterns. Again, I go back to my point I was making. When I put you under a microscope, I'm going to see a human pattern, a cellular pattern that makes you up, right? But then I'm going to look at you in your life and I'm going to say, you're not living what I'm looking at. You're not living what I'm seeing inside. You're living, the light poles that I see inside you is telling me something different. It's expressing to me another person. I don't know this person. Who is this person? The person inside you, that's the person I want to know. You understand? The person inside you is the person I want to know. Who is that person over there that's standing in front of me? So you got to live your truth. You got to live out and express your good to the world. When you do good, express your good. That's living your truth. Because you can be guilt-ridden of being able to want to do that. And you can guilt yourself in not expressing yourself. And you guilt yourself into thinking that that's wrong to express yourself. It's wrong to express who you are. It's wrong to be your true self. And you can put yourself, and you will guilt yourself into believing that every time you do good, you are not to mention that. You're not to talk about that. You're not to ever express that. You're not to let people know that. You understand? Doing something monumental is doing something that's good for all humans, or doing something for the good of mankind. When you do something that's monumental and it's for the good of mankind, and I don't mean you're doing for mankind but not doing for yourself. I believe that doing for mankind is ultimately doing for yourself, because you are doing for mankind what you would do for yourself, and you are also doing for mankind that of which who you are. You're doing for mankind that of which you are, and that is, and what you are is the truth that you are, or the good that you are delivering. That's what you are. That's who you are. That's how you express yourself. You understand? And that's how it becomes in retrospect good for the human, for mankind. You understand? Expressing yourself in a certain good that you want to do. You may say, this makes me feel good, but if it makes you feel good and it's going to be good for mankind, then you do it, and then ultimately mankind benefits. Mankind benefits. You understand? Mankind benefits. So I want you to believe that there's nothing wrong with expressing any good that you do. There's nothing wrong with expressing your truth. There's nothing wrong with living out your purpose and expressing and not seeking, self-praise is like, oh, look what you got your banner and you on a corner and you're saying, look what I did. You understand what I'm saying? And, just going out there expressing yourself. There was a time, let me tell you just real quick and I'm done. There was a time where I wanted to, because y'all know I'm a poet, I wanted to express myself. I had some poems in me I wanted to express. I couldn't wait to express them. I couldn't wait to express myself in the poems I had written. You know what I did? You know what I ended up doing? I ended up going downtown. This is me telling you the truth because this is who I am. And I ended up doing like what those people do. And this wasn't at night. This was broad daylight. This was 10 o'clock in the morning. And this was like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I went downtown and I was just on the corner and I was just loudly reciting my poem. And guess what happened? I didn't even record this. I didn't record this. This was about 2 years ago. And a crowd started to form around me. A small crowd started to form around me. And I wanted to get out there and express my truth. Because I knew it was going to do some good for somebody that heard it. As it did. You understood? I was like, somebody got to hear this. I got to get this out of me. If I didn't get it out of me, I wouldn't be living my truth. And if I didn't live my truth, I would still be guilt with that. You understand what I'm saying? That's why you got to do, when you do good, you got to express that. I would have guilt myself of that. Talking about, man, why didn't I do that? I wish I would have did that. That's guilt. When you go back to the wishing thing, that's you. When you say I wish I did it, that's all. You know what all that is? That is the results, and that is an example of, and that is the results and example of you not living your truth when you knew at the moment you were supposed to do so. That's what that is. Whenever you say like I wish I did, man, I wish I'd have did that. I wish I'd have did this. That's the results of when you had the opportunity to live and express your good and your truth, and you didn't do it. You understand? You understand? So you wish you would have did something. You wish you would have made that turn, or you wish you would have went that way, or you wish you went to that conference, or you wish you would have did. You knew that you wanted to go and do that, but you're not expressing your truth. So every time you say you wish you did something, or you wish you was something, or you wish you were somewhere, or something like that, you're only expressing the results of the moment you didn't express or live your truth and live out your good. That's what you're expressing. That's what it sounds like when you express what you wish you would have did. So I'm telling you, you don't have to wish. That's why I went out there because and recited my poetry in public loudly. No megaphone, none of that. Just me and my voice. And I formed a little crowd. It was about maybe 10 people, 15 people that just stood there listening to me recite poems, and everybody was like, "You a poet, you a rapper, whatever." Yeah. So, but people formed around me and started listening. This is broad daylight, 10 o'clock in the morning downtown. You understand? While people are getting ready for work, I had to get up and go and express my truth. You understand what I'm saying? And I did that. You understand what I'm saying? I expressed that truth. I lived that truth. I got it out. You understand? There's many things that I did, again, on an individual level. I don't have to express everything I do on an individual level, because most of the times on an individual level, when you're doing good, it's because that's who you are. You don't have to express who you are every single day if you are living your truth. Because if you are living your truth, you are doing good. So you don't have to express every day every good that you do, but you do need to express the good that you do when it's the good on a communal level for the betterment of mankind. You need to express that truth, and you need to get that out there, so people can see it and comment and say what you did for them. And you can see that. And you can see that your good is doing some good. Because I go back to the quote, and I go back to the phrase that I said, and I'm done right now. What good is the good that you do if you don't use it for any good? Thank you for your listening ear today. I'll see you again maybe tomorrow night. I'll be back here with some more of this living in my truth, my purpose. And I hope you all got something from this. Don't forget, you can go to theenlightenedpoet.com, get the book Breaking Out. And then after all of that good stuff, come back here and then hear me out again when I express this, living out my truth. You understand? This is Qonsciousmindz. Peace out. I love you. See you all again. Bye-bye.